Álvaro Parejo. I'm project manager at Easy Accelerator, and in this webinar, I'm going to introduce you to the DIH² network and our purpose. Then I'm going to take you through a resource we are offering to you as part of the DIH² services, which are free online courses about technological and digital skills designed to be useful for SMEs and individuals working in manufacturing and robotics. Then I'm going to hand it over to Mark, our guest expert and creator of our course Data-Driven Marketing. And he's going to take you through key points to know about the topic. And when he's done, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So yeah, let's get started. DIH² believes in the power of robotics to transform the agility of manufacturing in SMEs and to drive economic growth across the European Union. Our role is to facilitate the connections that enable agile production in factories, where speed and versatility are essential to satisfy customer demand. Originally funded by Horizon 2020, the European Union Research and Innovation Programme tasked with bringing great ideas from lab to market. We aim to generate innovation that maximize productivity and optimize agility in manufacturing SMEs and mid-caps across the European Union. In addition, our goals include providing the cost effectiveness of advanced robotic solutions and driving growth of robotic markets. We already have a large and growing ecosystem of organizations that have joined our network. And if you're interested in learning more about joining, you can visit dih/square.eu. Here in the next slide, you can see that the DIH² network is managed by a number of different partners from across Europe, each playing a different role. And as I said before, I'm from ISDI, a business school for digital aerospace in Spain. And our role is to improve training courses that are currently open and free for everyone to access. In the next slide, you can see the objectives of the courses are here. And we aim to introduce users in the European manufacturing sector to new technologies and ways of work, to teach how to implement those ways of working and to ultimately support the uptake innovation in manufacturing SMEs across Europe. In the next slide, you can view our courses via our online platform on dih/square.mooc.prom.eu, and you can browse the entire catalog without registering. But if you would like to take a course, you will need to create an account in order to access all didactic materials. It's very quick and it's very easy to create an account, so we encourage you to make one. You will see that we have a number of courses specifically focused on technology related to manufacturing and robotics. And the next slide, in this slide, you can see a better overview of what we have on this list. In the next one, in addition, we have a wide range of courses about digital skills aimed to help you bring your knowledge into the modern world. Topics covered include agile methodology, data-driven marketing, interface design and usability, and much more. All of our courses feature video, text, slides, and graphics in an interactive learning experience. Many courses also allow you to test knowledge at the end with self-assessment, and the length of time that takes to complete a course can vary from between 1 hour or less up to 10 hours, depending on the topic. Here in the next slide, again, you can see the link where you can access all of our courses for free, as we said before. And then finally, I would like to introduce you to our guest speaker for today, Mark Rolfs. He has a wide-ranging career, leading agencies and teams, advising founders, C-suite and government ministers, launching brands and DTC businesses, and much more. And currently, he is head of strategy at Sachi Wellness, and he consults across public health on digital strategy and innovation projects. He is with us today to talk about data driving, and we are very glad to have him here. So thank you very much, Mark, for coming today.
Awesome. Thank you, Alvaro. Let me just share my screen, everybody. 1 second. Great, hopefully you can all see that. Wow, I love the look of this course. It looks absolutely amazing. And the ambition to shape the future of robotics, that sounds incredibly inspiring. And actually, I can see that my little bit of it, I think it's important. I think it can help with your understanding of your audience and also your understanding of marketing and how to communicate with them. But I'm not sure it's quite as bold and exciting as the future of robotics. So I quite envy you being able to look into this and deep dive into it, into detail with ISDE, and also just looking at the speakers you've got on that list. There's some really fantastic speakers there that you definitely don't want to miss and that I've run courses with before. So really in the next kind of 15-20 minutes, I'm just going to give you hopefully a flavour of what you will get if you watch my recorded class on data-driven marketing. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of an introduction to me, and then also to talk about why data is important and what it really means, because people talk about data a lot, but what's it really useful for when it comes to marketing communications. Give you a bit of an overview of what the film that you will watch contains, and yeah, maybe just the sense of what you get when you have to sit watching me talk for a few minutes. So first of all, Alvaro said I've done a lot of different things in my career, and really they've always been centered around bringing these three things together. So really understanding people, what motivates their behavior, how you can communicate with them, how you can inspire them, how you can get them to change their behavior. What's important to brands, understanding, what is a brand's best self? If you look at your organization and what you do, what is it you're absolutely the best at that really matters to your audiences and to your customers? And then thinking about how tech and digital can facilitate those things and can create really powerful connections, at the intersection of people, brands, and technology. And I've been doing that for about 22 years. I've always worked either in digital agencies or social media agencies, actually until the last year, where I've taken the kind of leap into working in, the world of more traditional advertising for Saatchi & Saatchi Wellness. And we're a global advertising agency. We work across all channels, so we still do a lot of digital work. We're primarily engaged with helping communicate on behalf of health and wellness brands. So that's a really interesting area and one that's really inspiring me. And I think when you come to thinking about all of your marketing communications, but also particularly when it comes to how you use data, there are two things that really matter. The first is empathy. You cannot develop great communications unless you have this ability to understand and share the feelings of other people. And the second is magic, and that's not the kind of magic which involves pulling rabbits out of hats or cutting your glamorous assistant in half on stage, but it's this kind of special and exciting thing that makes something seem different from ordinary things, which sets it apart. And I think in the kind of really crowded communications landscape that we all live in, and we're all people, we all consume, we all have access to a lot of content on our phones, on our laptops, on our TVs. We know you really need to be able to break through and do something that's really quite magical. And you do that by really focusing on, first of all, understanding your audiences, and then bringing something that is distinctly different and exciting to them. And why is it so important? It's important because, first of all, no customer, no consumer, no person, wants to interact with you all of the time as a brand. However interesting you are, and actually sometimes in, say, business to business, which may be the field that you're often selling in your organizations, we have to work really, really hard to get noticed and to be interesting and engaging, because most of us would rather do other things with our time than interact with brands or organizations. So we have to work extra hard. And actually something I genuinely see when I'm working with organizations is that they don't understand how high that bar is when it comes to creating powerful communications. The second is that the world is really, really complicated. And marketing and the use of data is basically trying to make kind of some sense out of that chaos, out of that complication, but it's very, very difficult. And data can help, but data's not your only answer. And in the end, you know, that experience, what people say about your brand, about your organization, about your product, that's about how they experience it. I often like to say that your brand is what people say about you after you've left the room. And you can pull on lots of levers, depending on the kind of organization, the kind of brands, the kind of products that you develop. But, you know, it's the interaction of these different experiences, of these different levers that make up people's perception of your brand or your product or your service. And with all of these different things, you can collect data. And by collecting and using data in the right way, that's how you get to those really powerful communications, how you get to the empathy and magic, because data is all about getting the balance between head and heart right, understanding what are the logical, rational things that make people choose your product, your service, your company, and what are the emotional things? Now, what are our psychographics? What really motivates the things we care and really, really value? So it's all about getting the data, but then analyzing that and interpreting it in a way that appeals to both your head and your heart, because it's the combination of those two things which kind of creates the magic that sets you apart and makes you really compelling in a crowded space. And something I try and do in all of my presentations is bring the theory to life in actually the best case studies you'll find from anywhere in the world of people using data to appeal to, you know, their audiences and engage them and persuade them to buy. You know, in the end, we work in marketing and advertising. We are in the business of selling things. And here is a brilliant example of Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company, using both social media but also social data and pricing to create a really compelling consumer proposition. And I'm hoping that this will both play and you'll be able to hear the sound brilliantly when I click. So enjoy. Oh, that would help. Can you hear that? No, 1 second.
This was just the beginning. Then we asked ourselves, how can we bring even more relevance and attention to each comparison? First, we developed an algorithm that searches for look-alike photographs. Through Facebook data, we found travel enthusiasts like Lucas who are interested in specific destinations. Geo-targeting pinpoints Lucas' current location and the closest airport. Another algorithm finds the destination airport. A search engine identifies the cheapest flight price for Lucas in real time. A unique social media price comparison, completely automated in an infinite number of variations.
I just can't get enough of that case study. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and it's particularly clever in the context of it does something that great digital marketing can do better than any other kind of channel or platform, and that's that it can take you kind of along or down the marketing funnel, or along the consumer journey or the customer journey or the acquisition journey, whatever you want to call it. So right from, you know, raising awareness and attracting and engaging your customers at the kind of the top of the funnel or the start of the journey, through to triggering their their propensity to buy, using price comparison to really get people, purchasing. And then, of course, you can measure it brilliantly, and you can measure it using the kind of data that you can collect in your advertising, in your social media, by looking at how people have moved from, for example, Instagram post through to website, through to purchase. And so it facilitates that entire kind of ecosystem around the customer, powered by a really strong and powerful creative idea, but underpinned by data which is valuable to the customer, but also valuable to the organization in understanding what's really driving success. Ooh. And so really, when it comes to my bit of this course, those are the kind of issues we're going to look to explore. And so it breaks down, roughly speaking, into these different sections. So first of all, an overview and an introduction to data and the data sources, where it comes from, how it's generated, where we can collect it. I then look in quite a bit of detail actually at social data and about why that's interesting and exciting. I unpack a little bit some of the ethical challenges around how you collect data, around doing it in the right way, around making sure that you're always ensuring that it's what's called a positive opt-in, when people are allowing you, the customers allowing you, and very clear about how you're going to use their data. And that's something they're completely in agreement with. And issues around GDPR and that type of thing. And then throughout all of this, more case studies like that Deutsche Bahn one you've just seen, because I think that's what really brings it to life. It's great to have the theory, it's great to have some of the knowledge, but also you make change in your organization, in my view, by looking at two things. One is around culture, one is around capability, and inspiring people to change is a big part of that. So yeah, lots and lots of amazing case studies. And just to kind of set it up, what we're trying to get to here is not just the idea that you're working with data, but really that you're developing and you're using data to drive the intelligence of your business and of your organization. And that's because, it's actually the insights, it's not the data, it's the insights that fuel your decisions, that make it actionable and make a difference to your business. Data can answer questions around performance, but really it's the analysis that answers the questions you might have around what's the right strategy to take, or do we really understand both more about our customers, but then how to engage them better. So it's the analysis that answers your questions around strategy. Oh, there should be another, sorry, I'm missing a slide there, but it doesn't matter. So one of the things to think about, one of the things I cover, is to make sure that you're moving between, yes, the ways that you collect data, but also making sure you analyze it in the right way and you report it and share it across your business in the right way to really drive, exciting change and more successful marketing communications. And all the time you can kind of find nuggets, just to give you an example of how this works, how the difference between just getting the data and getting the analysis. Well, lots of you will be conscious of your search data. If you've got any kind of business that has a website, which all of you will have, I'm 100% sure, you might be looking at how many people are searching for you and what we call your share of search, what that looks like compared to some of your competitors. But you might know as a market, as a business within your particular sector, what's your share of market? And both of those are kind of independent data points. Share of search, which roughly correlates to what we call share of voice, and size, share of market in terms of how big a business you are in your sector. Now, what's interesting is when you correlate those two data points, you start to see that share of search is a really interesting lead indicator for brand growth. This graphic kind of illustrates it quite nicely. You can see here that brand X's share of search, its kind of share of voice in the marketplace, is increasing, and that is a fascinating indicator that it's about to grow. And that data, the analysis of that data, and then the use of that data to predict business growth is incredibly useful in terms of measuring the impact of your marketing, say, but also making sure you're ready for that growth as a business. If you start to see these types of patterns, you can think about how your supply chain is working and whether or not that's aligning to the likely growth that you can predict based on an analysis of just these two data points. Oh yeah, and this is the slide I thought was missing. Turns out it wasn't missing. So yeah, it's all about bringing these things together. You know, the data that you collect from social and digital consumer intelligence platforms and from buying behaviors and engaging with your consumers, making it actionable, analyzing that data and driving, you know, real insight and real learning for the business, and then making sure you as a business, you really transform and you implement and maximize the value of that intelligence. And we'll also look a bit in the video on, you know, the different types of ways that you can get that data. So actually, you know, let's not forget, of course, we often think about big data and about big, what we call quantitative data sources, but sometimes you get really interesting qualitative data from just talking to your customers, from speaking to folks in groups and interviews. You know, that's really, really useful and not to be discounted at all in terms of how you understand and how you use data and insight in your business. But then, of course, what the digital world also gives us is lots and lots of different types of tools, which allows us to generate either qualitative or quantitative data at scale. And so these vary from, you know, kind of interactive online panels and other kind of market research tools, you know, online consumer surveys, social listenings, the way that you can monitor what's being talked about, you know, on blogs, on online news sites, on Twitter, etc., etc. You can really learn from that. The data you get from your kind of owned digital platforms. So, you know, your website, what keywords people are searching for, what contents they're interested in. And then, of course, the data you get from kind of performance. So your customer relationship management, your paid media activity, your e-commerce activity, all of those are really interesting digital data sources. And we can bring all of this together to understand that you have this wealth of data as an organization, you know, and how are you going to use that and take it and make it actionable and interesting for you as a business. And you can't do everything. I mean, it doesn't matter how big a business you are. And I've worked with startups all the way up to some of the world's biggest businesses. You cannot do everything because people only have so much bandwidth. It's about trying to separate the signals from the noise, the really interesting data points which are most meaningful for your business, and focusing on those to start with. And then there's just such a plethora of different tools and platforms that you can use to collect all these different types of data. And I talk a little bit about certain types of data platforms like social listening platforms I've kind of covered already, you know, in the film that you'll be able to watch. And then just to end, you know, to end on another case study, bringing it all together. Again, a brilliant example here of a holiday company called Black and Abroad, really using data to engage in the social media space in a really provocative way, but also in a way that helps them live their purpose incredibly boldly, challenge attitudes all around the world, and of course, ultimately drive sales.
In the 400 years since enslaved Africans were first brought to America, we've been told to go back.
Quote, they should get back on a ship and go back to Africa.
That we don't belong.
Why don't you go back to Africa where you belong?
Go back to Africa! Told by elected officials.
Go back to Africa.
Told more than once every 3 minutes online. But what if we could tell a different story about what it means to go back to Africa? This is Go Back to Africa, a Pan-African tourism campaign for Black and Abroad that hijacks real hate as it happens in real time on Twitter, erases the racist context, and displaces it with the positive vision of Africa through hyper-targeted ads for each of Africa's 54 countries. But we had another problem. For Black people to want to go to Africa, we need to be able to see ourselves there. And most of the people who appear in mainstream travel imagery are white. So we developed an algorithm that pulls hundreds of thousands of travel images from Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, uses Google Vision AI to find the ones likely to contain Black travelers, analyzes and tags the content, and pulls them into GoBackToAfrica.com. A first-of-its-kind, socially sourced content platform of aspirational Black travel. From Algeria to Zimbabwe. This platform also becomes the foundation for a programmatic influencer marketing campaign. So if one of our millennial targets likes cuisine, adventure, and wildlife, they get a custom ad designed to help them see themselves there. We can't just erase 400 years of hate, but we can take back what it means to go back to Africa.
Amazing. And so just another brilliant case study there, which shows that you can take data, you can turn it into insights. It can make your business more intelligent and more effective. It can help you appeal to both the head and the heart of your customers, your audiences, and create that empathy and that magic which characterizes really amazing marketing communications, which is not only powerful, can really change the way people feel, but can also really drive sales and revenue growth in your business.
In the 400 years since enslaved Africans,
if I could work out how to use Google Slides, it would help, which apparently I can't. So there you go. Thank you very much. And that's it. I hope that's kind of giving you a bit of a flavour of what the course will be like. And Alvaro, if I'm not wrong, I think we're going to do some questions if anybody's got any now.
Yes, exactly. Now is time for questions. So if anyone in the chat, let me here my light now. Normally we have a few questions between the attendees. So let's see. Let me check. So yeah, now it's time for questions and answers. If anyone has questions about this webinar today, now is the time to ask them.
Yeah, I also enabled the mic, so if anybody just wants to unmute themselves, go ahead.
What I should say is, if you, and you'll see that I shared my LinkedIn at the end of that, and of course, I think I probably do it on the video as well that you can watch. If you watch the video and then you have questions, you're also always very welcome to follow up with me on LinkedIn or via Isdi or Alvaro, just to, because sometimes we're dealing with quite big subject areas in a relatively short amount of time. So I think that's just an important thing to emphasize about, why this package will work really well for you.
Cool,
okay.
thanks.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for this wonderful presentation. I think this is basically, I know many of the attendees are coming from a background of R&D projects where normally marketing and branding is done before, like without much thinking, because normally the project is going to last for a certain amount of time and then it disappears. So it was something very, very interesting what you showed. One thing I think it would be good also, for example, for different sectors, how to actually get the right data. Because I think analyzing the data and then making the decision on that basis is one thing, but for the market to collect the data, I think that would also be quite useful, that how you would like to do it only through the website or also when you're giving, let's say, your MVP or a product to the customer.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point, Ali. And of course, every sector and also the role of data in terms of the different roles that sit within any organization can be quite different. What I try and cover in the video is very much around some of the top line stuff about how you can collect data and where you can collect that data. But certainly, for example, if you're thinking about, and it depends on your particular business sector, but you're thinking about certain, if you're thinking about research and development around, say, new product development, it's really interesting to look at what people are saying about competitor products on social media. That can be a brilliant source for kind of research and development inspiration. It can be really interesting to look at actually how people talk about your sector and your particular kind of product in search. And a lot of people just think about search as being, okay, this is the way we find websites, but actually search is a really important intelligence tool because it shows you how people understand and choose to engage with products and the kind of things, kind of features that they're interested in. And then I think even kind of stuff which is around how people use your website. You know, this is something you just mentioned. It's really interesting. And how much time do they spend on, you know, this, say, product or category page versus that one? What kind of content do they engage in? All of this stuff is important, yes, for communications, but it can also tell you something about levels of interest in your business. And so, you know, by its nature, this course has to cover a lot of things quite broadly, but I think that there are ways and learnings that you can take from, you know, these different types of digital data points that you have available to you that are valuable, whether or not you work in research and development or marketing or customer service, and you know, lots and lots of different areas within a business.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. Okay. Well, if that's it, we can wrap up. And Alvaro, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
Cool.
see me?
No.
Now?
There we
Okay.
go. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you very much, Mark, for coming today. It was a very great webinar. Let me check. Are you going to share the screen, Alex, or are we just wrapping up? Oh, there you go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. These are our coming webinars. Thank you for everyone coming today. We will have the last one of this set of webinar is IoT industry leader Arduino. And then you can follow us in our Twitter and LinkedIn social media. And you can also, we are leaving here also the link to the MOOC platform, so you can register, and we encourage everyone to go there. It's very easy, very quick to do it, and you can access a lot of courses that are related to robotics and other topics, like we've seen the one Mark told us today. So yeah, stay tuned, and thank you very much for coming today, and thank you very much, Mark, for your